Okay, everyone, I have 10 o'clock or 1 minute after, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning and welcome to today's online roundtable. My name is Dan Bostrom. I'm the Rails Member Engagement Manager, and our topic today is creating, implementing, and assessing virtual programs. So today we're going to hear from a team of speakers from the Gail Borden Public Library District. They have a very interesting approach to how they've tackled virtual online programs and the ways in which they've created them, they've put them into practice, and the ways that they are measuring them. So excited to hear about that. Let's take a look quickly at our agenda. So this is how we're going to work. I'm going to do a quick introduction, hear about some things happening around Rails, and then we're going to have our presentation from our speakers, Denise Raleigh, Katie Clausen, and Natalie Kiburg, and then we're going to do a Q&A. If we have time at the chat, at the end, we'll do a quick chat to hear what you're doing. But there are a lot of you today, so if we have a long Q&A, we might not get to that chat portion. Again, we appreciate you coming. And at the end, we'll do a quick wrap up and then we'll be done. Again, this event will be recorded, so there will be a recording available from the Rails YouTube page after we're done today. Okay, so let's jump into it. We like to get to know who's coming today. So if you do want to do the following, please help us out in the chat box. You should see your toolbar either top or bottom of your screen. You can click chat, and then make sure that if you are sending in comments or questions, that you're clicking all attendees and panelists. If you do the all attendees option in the to field, it's only going to go to us as panelists, but all attendees and panelists means everybody gets to see what you're talking about and who you are. So that's introductions. Let's look at some Rails news and opportunities. Okay, so the first thing I want to tell you about is a very exciting development from Rails. As part of our My Library Is campaign, we created some new talking points, and these are meant as a guide. You can use them in speaking with community stakeholders or in any situation where you are advocating for the library. And I know those conversations are going to be very important in the next weeks and months ahead. So these are downloadable as PDFs. They're available from the My Library Is website. And we have 4 versions, one each for academic, public, school, and special libraries. So please do check those out. An upcoming webinar that I wanted to tell you about. This is actually part of a 2-part series. So the first one is called Dashboard Design Part 1. What type of dashboard do you need? And it happens on Tuesday, May 12th at 1 p.m. Ann K. Emery, who's presented for us in the past, she's going to discuss ways that you can set up an easy 1-page document designed to display data. And these are great for visualizing key library metrics and how they change over time. And you can also sign up for the second part of the webinar, which is the following week, Tuesday, May 19th at 1 p.m. Both of those are available registration from L2. Just 2 weeks ago, we had a great event that I wanted to tell you about as well. This is currently archived on the Rails website. Becca Borden from the Skokie Public Library talked about hosting online book clubs. And as part of this presentation, she included tips on doing readers advisory over social media through tie-ins with YouTube, Goodreads, and other platforms. This was a really fun one, and I think it relates very nicely with today's topic. So please do check that out. Just remember, you need your L2 login in order to access that from the Rails website. Another event that's coming up next week, Rails is co-hosting an academic library professional development event with IACRL, the Illinois Academic and Illinois Association of College and Research Libraries. This event is called Spark, Connect and Get Fired Up. It's a 2-hour event that will include presentations from 8 different academic librarians around Illinois. Topics include virtual reference, program management, data deconstruction, and a lot more. So this event takes place Friday, May 15th at 10 a.m. It is open to anyone, and we hope to see you there. Last thing I'm going to tell you about, we have an upcoming online roundtable. This one is with Emily Glimko from the Addison Public Library, and she's going to be talking about solo library marketing and what it means to be a one-person team doing marketing in the library. So you will not want to miss that. Okay, so we are at our feature presentation, and I'm going to turn this over. Today's presenters include Denise Raleigh, who's the Division Chief, Public Relations and Development Officer, Division Chief for Public Relations and Development from the Gail Borden Public Library. Katie Clausen is the Early Literacy Services Manager, and Natalie Kiburg is the Online Communications and Social Media Specialist. So we are going to do a handoff here. Natalie, are you ready? Okay, great. You're gonna not see my screen for a second here, and Natalie's going to start sharing hers. All right. Looks like it was successful. Very good. Okay, turn it over to you folks.
All right, thanks everyone. This is Denise Raleigh from Gail Borden Public Library, and it is great to see so many people logging in from so many places in the state. What an awesome turnout. It's glad to see everyone. And again, I'm just going to ask her to switch this screen. During this time of this challenging time, I'm so proud to be part of this profession. And I'm sure many of you out there share the same feeling, but we got people doing everything. We got daily crochet at Evergreen Park, or Evergreen Public Library, children's yoga at Brentwood Public Library. Bellwood is featuring, every day, offering Zumba. So to see the type of work that's going on from libraries across this state has been phenomenal. And as you see in our lower right-hand corner, you see Katie Clausen, who you're going to be hearing from. So it's been an ongoing process for us getting ready, but we were uniquely positioned to take off with online programming. If you want to move that slide, there we go. When we left on Friday, we closed the building on March 13th. March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, we had a referendum. So all of our preparation in getting ready and communicating about our referendum also created this atmosphere where we knew on Tuesday that there would be many people who didn't early vote who would be also voting that day. So it really made us want to position ourselves to make sure they know that we're going to just continue to offer the kind of services that Gail Borden had continually offered. So before we left the library, we filmed our first episode that Monday. We were open that Monday for the last day for staff to go in and grab things they needed. We filmed Katie Clausen and Griselle Leon doing the first story time to an empty library, but I believe that one had 7,000 views by early evening. And so what that also did that Monday, if you'll go back a few slides, that's okay. That's okay, I'll talk a little bit about when we were getting ready to leave the library, making sure that people, we had some visioning as to who needed to do what as we left, at least in our department. So making sure that people had what they needed when they started working from their houses was really important. And so that is, we made sure that those folks had what they needed. Again, we'd had a talk, we went down and talked with folks in youth. Katie remembers very well us coming down and saying, by the way, Katie, we need you to go live this morning, but also grabbing all the emails and discussing, I had a brief impromptu meeting with the youth department about what we thought we were going to need. When we left, and this is what I think the amazing part of libraries across the state, including Gail Borden, was the flexibility of our staff, asking people who had one job to do another. And I'm sure we'll get to that slide again. On the left, upper left, that is our manager of exhibits, that's Mary Amici Cozy. Right now, her job is totally different. She's one of the early viewers of videos that get submitted. She watches the videos for rollovers, for where titles should be added. So this, the process we're gonna show you in a second here, but being flexible and having the attitude that, you know, we're all in this together. I know that's very trite right now, but it really is meaningful within our library. You know, these people without hesitation said, oh, I can do this. And that Kyle down there, and he is our head of copying, and he became a game maker in his other life. Kyle is a trained game maker online. So now we feature a Gail Borden quiz, and it's just a fun little quiz to take you through some of our online virtual products. So using people, finding what strengths they had and asking them would they be willing to do it in this time period was phenomenal. And it was just heartwarming to see the type of dedication and the willingness of people to do this. And so we were really pleased. And this is some of what it looks like. I know this looks like a lot of squares, but as different types of processes for different types of video, we have chunked the jobs to make these, to make the process work for us. And of course, we had not similar workloads at the very beginning of this. There's some folks who worked a lot of hours and some folks who were saying, you know, I'm not feeling the pressure yet. But the way this works for us, it depends on what kind of video is coming in, whether it's Facebook Live. We love Facebook Live because it generates a ton of traffic onto the video just from Facebook. And that job, we have a job of taking that down and moving that to YouTube. And of course, we're really trying to up our game on SEO for YouTube because of it being a separate marketing channel now. We used to use it kind of as a cataloging service. Now we're using it as a separate marketing channel too. A Facebook video that is turned in beforehand, it gets downloaded. Someone's job is to download it into a spreadsheet. Then it goes into the to be watched folder, and Mary is the head of our English speaking. Then we have Lucy, who does our Spanish speaking videos, as well as Laura Espinosa. Then it moves along after it has notes as to what needs to happen to that video. Sometimes we also get a 2-video shot where someone will have an overhead view, and it goes into an edited folder. Then it goes to our video editors, and then it gets used on Facebook. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we have people's jobs who are to share it to other sites when it's running on Facebook. And so it's been a wonderful way of figuring out all the steps that need to take place to really maximize our impact out there. And we have working people, people like Katie and Griselle and many others in our library are working so hard. You know, we feel it's incumbent on our department to make sure it has the farthest reach that it can. We have people working just on Zoom, and that follows a different progression. And again, so we have stuff that never goes to Facebook, it just goes to YouTube so that it can be linked and marketed in that fashion. So it's been well thought out, and it continues to be tweaked. And so working on how we market this has been really, really an emphasis for us. The e-newsletter became really, really impactful for us because, and we send it out weekly. Now it has the schedule of your library at home. Of course, that's a branded channel. And you know, we watch what people click on, and we put all of our new announcements, like we went fines free during this period. We are opening our drive-up window this morning, so today's electronic newsletter will lead with that. But we found our electronic newsletter is unbelievably effective. Our open rates, I'm sure like many of you are experiencing, has doubled during this time period. Facebook posts, you know, website. We actually did do one print virtual newsletter, And we also do a virtual newsletter. Partner messaging, we use our audio on hold since we still have people calling into the library, so that is still, and we have a new monument sign that, of course, there aren't that many cars driving by, but that's normally a, you know, a 25,000 a day corner. So figuring out and watching those, we do watch what they click on, how low it is. You know, yeah, we analyze that. That's part of our Monday meeting as to how our e-products are doing and how we can tweak them to make them actually, you know, land often. And we just need to get our message out to everyone. But it's really our virtual products that are doing the work right now. Of course, I told you we have jobs. We have 3 people sharing that job that post our Facebook lives or our Facebook videos to other sites. And one of them, I think we were posting to mom blogs, or that was being shared. Our feed was being shared by mom bloggers in Chicago. WBBM Radio contact us. They were not on our original press list for what we are doing. And of course, press releases have been very effective during this time period as well. But they heard what we were doing, and they did a post, or you know, an online interview about what we were doing to be meaningful to our community, to make sure that we serve them in the way we should. And again, that was not due to a press release on this WBBM. That was just finding us. So I think it's just reflective of the effectiveness of some of our marketing. And again, just always assessing and looking. And that's the beauty of all this online virtual products, is you get so much information that you can immediately tweak your next week with. So I'm going to turn this over to our social media strategist, and what a job she's done. Here is Natalie Kiburg.
Hey everybody, I'm Natalie. Thank you, Denise, and thank you everybody again for being here. So basically, there's so many different moving parts to social media, as we all know, and what it comes down to, in order for us to use our social media channels effectively, you know, as soon as we thought there might be a chance we would be, you know, working from home, Denise mentioned, we started immediately recording a couple programs with staff while we were still at the library, and we started implementing ways that we would be able to do this from home. And one of the important things that we are always evaluating is how the social media streams work. Basically, you know, prior to the stay-at-home order, we had a system, so to speak, set up so that we knew, you know, we're going to post X amount of times per day on Facebook, or like Denise mentioned, we used our YouTube channel as kind of like a cataloging pre-existing videos. But as we kind of got down into it, figuring out how we were going to put these videos on our social media channels, we had to take into account how the channels work. And one of the like really important things is, you know, we don't want to use Facebook as a dumping ground, so to speak, because we want everything that we put on that platform to be effective. So, you know, if we have a program that we've already put on YouTube, for example, and it's available on YouTube, one of the things that we always try to keep in mind is that YouTube and Facebook, they don't get along. Like they're owned by different people, and Facebook, I'm sure everyone is aware of, you know, the magical algorithm of Facebook, and they do their best to say, I want you to stay on my platform. So anytime we're offering a program and we have the ability to upload it or upload it straight to YouTube, straight to Facebook, we will do both, because we want to make sure that we're using those channels effectively. And then the other thing that is really, really important is spacing out our programs and our posts so that we're not, you know, potentially hiding something, you know, if you post too closely together, obviously Facebook does not want, it takes into account the timing in between it. So you can see on the right-hand side, this was one of our schedules that went out recently. We do our best to try to schedule in between, to give each program, give each post some time to really be seen on Facebook, so we're not covering up ourselves. So that's something that's really important for just, how the social media streams work in general. Scheduling out with time for your program to be seen and to be effective. The next thing that I kind of wanted to go over, just a couple highlights, and these are things that as the years have gone on, we've kind of come up with an ongoing list, so to speak, of just these things that we always want to make sure we're paying attention to. And obviously they're always changing too, with every platform and every new update and everything that they offer. But some of the main things that we're trying to keep into consideration right now, the highlights. If we are between doing a Facebook Live and doing a video for a program, Facebook does a really good job of promoting a Facebook Live more than a video. So I don't know if anyone has seen, Katie is one of our 11 a.m. storytime programmers, and she usually goes Facebook Live for her programs. So we try to incorporate Facebook Lives whenever we can. Not only does it help with there's not as much video editing work to be done, but it's just more effective on the channel itself. So that's something that we have done. And we also have suggested to staff, like a recommended time length is, we've said in between 10 and 18 minutes. So it's a little bit shorter than a regular program, but it's also the longer that you can get Facebook to see that you're live and get a consistent amount of viewers tuning in, it does its job itself to say, hey, maybe you didn't see that we're Facebook Live, tune in. I'm sure everyone's noticed that so-and-so is live right now, bar. So if you're trying to make it an effective Facebook Live, time is something that you want to consider. If you're just planning on going Facebook Live for 2 minutes, it's not going to be nearly as effective as a 15-minute live program. So that's one thing that we always want to consider. The other thing is for videos, and of course this I would say recently changed. Before, the shorter videos did well on Facebook, and now they have said that it's really got to be a minimum of 3 minutes. And we've seen it in our numbers just when we go and evaluate our stats, is if we post something that's just a little snippet, it's 60 seconds, it really doesn't have quite the engagement, quite the reach that we're hoping to. But if you meet that 3-minute mark, it really does impact your stats, and you should be able to see the difference between those. And those obviously aren't so much programs, but maybe just a brief little snippet of something that we might have posted. We did a couple of them for National Library Week, and we wanted to make sure that we really hit that 3-minute minimum mark for a video. I mentioned earlier, just letting your post or your video or your program, whatever it is, organically have some time to sit on that platform before you post again. So that's something that I have always been very I've been a stickler for it, trying to make sure I'm not covering something up, especially since we want everything to do well, and we want to get our message out. So we don't want to try to cover anything up that we've just posted. So giving it time to sink in, giving it time for that algorithm to show it to as many people as possible before we post something else. One other thing that I know has been, I wouldn't say like a debate, but should you use hashtags or should you not use hashtags? I think, Denise, I think we were talking about this last week or 2 weeks ago. How effective is it to use hashtags? There's kind of like a cataloging reason behind it is that you can see all, you can click on that link and see everything else that has that, but so it's kind of an internal use, but then there's also kind of a broader sense to it. If I know for Day of the Child last week, we had multiple partners and there were numerous people posting to various platforms and using all of the same hashtags. So it's a nice way for someone to stumble upon something if maybe they've clicked on that, but then also a nice way for you to go back and be able to look quickly and say, how much did I post about the Elgin census throughout our campaign? And we can kind of look at it that way too. So using hashtags whenever applicable, and then also tagging partners. It sounds like a no-brainer, but as soon as that partner gets a notification and they can see like, wow, I'm up there, I'm going to share this post, you're automatically going to help your reach. So one of the things that we had mentioned also was sharing, well, I'm going to skip this one because this is the next slide, sorry. But with partners, creating relationships with people who have matching missions, you can utilize your partners to help share those posts, and I'll go into more of the sharing in a couple slides, but let me see here. We've got YouTube, Facebook, remembering the platforms, and you don't want to share a YouTube link to Facebook, obviously, whenever you can upload that video straight to the Facebook platform. I did just read a study recently that said, I think it's at 85%, videos do 85% better when uploaded directly to Facebook than when you share the YouTube link on Facebook. So that's something that, I mean, we've hammered down already a couple times today, but we keep coming back to that, is use that platform whenever you can. And then scheduling. We mentioned earlier, this is our schedule on the right-hand side of the screen, and we try to space everything out, but we also try to vary it up. So up until today, because our May programming just changed a bunch, but up until today, we had been offering 11 a.m. story times, 2 p.m. Bilingual programming, and then 7 p.m. adult programs. So just that sense that for 7 weeks now, 7, 8 weeks, I don't even remember anymore, all of our customers knew 11, 2 p.m., 7 p.m. Like they could come to our channel and expect to see that on Facebook, for the past 7 or 8 weeks straight. So having that consistent schedule and knowing when you can expect to see a program it's proving to really be effective for our channels. We've got customers that are constantly messaging us saying, when is Katie going to go live next? Or when is, Griselle going to go on? And we make sure to try to share that schedule. We share it every Monday morning for the entire week. And then you can see the whole week at a glance and know what to expect. So promoting it in advance is really effective so that people know when they can tune in for those. For our videos, Denise mentioned earlier the process. We have a whole bunch of people that staff members will record their videos and upload them, and then we've got an assembly line, so to speak, of people involved in this process. And one of the things that I had not done as much previously was just doing video editing. Obviously, with the abundance of videos and programming that we've been doing online, it can't all fall on one person. But one of the things that has proven to be very effective for me is just the use of iMovie on my phone, because it is a very simple video editor. And having been someone who did not know as much about editing prior to this, it's been very simple to meet the needs of what we need to do to get our videos done. So that's been very effective for me to use iMovie. There are a couple other ones. Denise, I don't know I have iPhone, and I know Denise has Android. I think she had a couple of those free apps for Android users that she might be able to share with you guys as well. But that just finding something simple, it doesn't need to be, you know, Premiere, it doesn't need to be a fancy program, but just doing simple things within what you do have available to you, obviously at home, has been very easy and effective.
Do you want me to just add something, Natalie?
Yes.
It's Movie Creator from Microsoft is free. It's normally downloaded. It used to be packed into your new computer, but now you have to download it. And Power Director is one that you can use on an Android phone for free as well. So those are good free products if you haven't already got one that you've purchased.
There you go. Thank you. And then in terms of editing, what we have been doing with our videos is, I'm sure you guys can see in all of our backgrounds, we've got Your Library at Home branding, and we've sent this branding to staff so that they can have it in their video itself, but we've also added that image to the beginning of all of our online programs. And then at the end of the video, you'll see our logo come up with the Gail Borden swirl. So just that beginning and end to all of our videos, making it consistent. Adding music and imagery. So Denise mentioned that part of the process is someone starts watching the video and they'll add notes, you know, hey, this would be a good time to add a B-roll of, you know, the book cover, or this would be a good time to add a title slide. Just those simple things that you can add to take your video to the next, you know, that next level. Obviously sitting here, and if we've got a 10 to 15 minute long program, if it's just one person, it's not as engaging as when you're able to cut the shot to, hey, this is the book that they're reading and here's a nice pan of the page, or, you know, a photo, and maybe it's a program you've done before and you can find previous photos from when you had it done at the library. Anything like that, imagery, you know, goes a long way, and splitting up just a person sitting here talking is a lot nicer for the viewer too. And adding music, I mean, music brings that emotional impact to a video within those first 3 seconds. So just before anyone sees anything, it's just Your Library at Home and it's a song. And there's so much more to a program, a video, when we add that simple element of music behind it. And, you know, it can really draw the viewer in a lot faster and a lot longer than without any music. And then the free editing tools that I mentioned earlier. I'm a fan of iMovie, but Denise mentioned those other ones as well. And then the last part of this that I wanted to go over, and this is something that we've been doing this for quite some time now, but utilizing Facebook groups and influencers. And so as soon as we put a program up, or as soon as Katie goes Facebook Live, we've got a team of people that are immediately sharing it to potential groups of people. So Facebook groups, Denise mentioned the Chicagoland moms group, or we've got an Elgin moms group and a South Elgin moms group. You know, those first couple weeks when we were at home, I can't tell you how many times I saw my friends, and then also in Facebook groups, people saying, what am I going to do with my kids? Like, help me. And we started immediately sharing any of those programs that, like, hey, moms looking for something to do with your kids? Here you go. Katie's live right now. Here's a story time. Or, you know, there is a Facebook group that is more specific to our location, again, that in Elgin, that is for bilingual or Spanish speakers. So those 2 p.m. bilingual programs that, you know, Grizel and some of our other staff have been offering, we utilize those Facebook groups and share it to them so that everyone that's on that group knows, hey, we're doing this content, we're doing it daily, you know, you can come here and find it. And we immediately see the spikes in viewers when someone's Facebook Live. And then as soon as we share it to those groups, those niche groups, we immediately see an uptick in the number of people tuning in, because it's what they're looking for and it's what they want. So using that and, you know, having that be an effective part of our actual marketing plan it's been very impactful. The other thing that you can do too, I mean, everyone's got library staff members, and probably the majority, if not all of your library staff members are on Facebook or on the platform that you are using. So just having them share it out has been really effective. We've got our small little team, but people beyond us are also consistently sharing to their friends, to their own profiles, to their Facebook groups that they're a part of, because, you know, we might have found 10 groups that might be good for this, but they could be a part of, you know, 10 more that we're not even touching. So just incorporating everyone and kind of using everyone as an influencer where we might be able to share it has just been, it's been very, very effective. And we can tell in the comments and in the engagement, it's very useful too. One thing we did notice is that Facebook has picked up on some of the sharing. So they tend to mark something as spam if they pick up on a pattern. So we had one of our sharers that got marked for spam, and she couldn't share our programs to certain groups anymore, which was kind of funny. But you know, we're all learning in this process. We never did it to this magnitude before, with how many programs we're doing a day and how many groups we're sharing to. But just seeing that and you saying, okay, well, we've got to reevaluate this. How can we switch it up? Can you take a certain day and then maybe someone else take a certain day? Or can you do different groups? Or can you not share it at the exact same time every day? You know, maybe if it's a video, you can wait 10 minutes into it before you share, just so to try to keep it consistent, but also not get flagged for Facebook spam. We'll have to keep reevaluating as we go and see how that goes. And I think it's up to Katie.
Awesome, thanks, Natalie. So I'm going to talk now about the how we do this from the programming side. And I wanted to say that you've seen a lot of different faces, and I'm just a small piece of the pie here. Everyone at Gail Borden is so talented and has different styles and talents. I mean, we've done everything from adult crafts to sew your own mask, to book talks, to Spanish story times. So I'm just going to talk about what works for me. A lot of people do it differently. So how to plan story time when you're not at the library and everything is around you, you know, your whole collection. You don't have a collection, you don't have puppets, you don't have your finger plays, you don't have your anything. So before I left, I did get to grab a whole bunch of books and some flannels. But other than that, I didn't really have anything. So I kind of took the first week to wander around my house and think about what I could do that kids would be interested in. And here's what I've done so far. I've turned all of my stuffed animals into characters. Like I had a teddy bear who became Kindness Bear. These are stuffed animals from my own childhood. I did a story time about art in which I just took like a sculpture and a painting and a piece of pottery and talked about different forms of art that I found in my house. I had a food taste test where I tried different fruits and we talked about, you know, sour, sweet, bitter. I made a silly stew where I just took a big thing and put random objects like a baseball and buttons and socks and used our imagination and asked the kids, what's in your stew? So I've also printed out, if you have a printer at home, print out clip art and, you know, put it on like a popsicle stick or a fork, anything like that. So it looks like a puppet. So yes, how can you tie in what you might have at home to kids' interests? Another thing that I do a lot of is, so I got a big bunch of puppets. If you can make just like one trip to the library. I also had a staff member who was willing to deliver stuff to me, which was so great. But I've only done that once, and I have a big thing of puppets that I use over and over and over. And I just reuse them and write a new script. So that's really great for me because I love being creative. And once you kind of have a formula, like the stuffed animal has a problem. Oh no, this stuffed animal wants to dance, but it can't dance. So it wanders over to Rabbit's house, and Rabbit can dance and teaches them how. Like you can, where children's librarians are very creative, and writing your own scripts is wonderful because it's free of copyright. You don't have to worry about that. And just, you can get creative. Oral stories are also really great. And flannels and finger plays, you know, like always going back to those things that we as children's librarians know and love. You can never go wrong with finger plays. Okay, so in terms of copyright, there is this, you know, it's a big can of worms right now happening. And I did have a conversation with Carrie Russell, who is the ALA copyright specialist. And we had a really good back and forth conversation about everything. So I just wanted to share a little bit about what she told me. Basically, Storytime is a quintessential service of public and school libraries, right? This is not something that we are selling. We have purchased the book, and it doesn't hinder the sales, right? It actually increases the sales if someone enjoys the book that you read. To read a story from beginning to end is actually the point of a story time. It's not, you know, fair use says you should not use the whole chunk, but it also says for the intended purposes. So the intended purpose of a picture book is you can't just read pieces of it. That's not going to work. And so she said, this was her quote. She said, "If we are forced to conduct services online, nothing changes from the initial argument that the use is fair. This is still a situation where services cannot be provided in person, so adjustments need to be made. In my opinion, even without extenuating circumstances, many online uses are fair, especially those related to teaching." So at least for me, that it helped ease my mind a little bit. We had a conversation about closed platforms versus open platforms. And I think in all, you know, the best thing you can do is acknowledge the publisher, do it in a closed platform, you know, go according to those publisher guidelines. That's the best case scenario, but that's not always possible. Not every library can afford multiple Zoom, you know, things. And so I think this is all in good faith. We are trying to help we're trying to help our users. So there's also I was going to say, I don't know if you guys have read the article about, it's called "It's All Fair Use, Folks." And in that she links to these publisher guidelines, and there's a new packet called the SLJ COVID-19 Publisher Information Directory. That's new. I think it came out last week or the week before. And that is something that I do follow. So whenever I do a story time, I do follow those publisher guidelines. I email them, I tell them the date, the time. So I think it's like in good faith, we do the very best we can, and then that's the way it's gonna be. I think music is a little bit different. I don't know if anyone knows the CLEL Bell. They are Colorado Library Early Literacy Association. They have a list of musicians that have offered up their, you know, you can use this musician as long as you, you know, acknowledge them. So that's a collection of musicians that have said you can use our music. Okay, so I'm going to talk now about how to set up your home area. This is where I'm sitting right now. As you see, it's very messy, but that's my life. So it is not fancy at all. I don't have any kind of fancy recording system. as you literally can see, actually, Natalie, can you move to the next slide? The way my camera is set up is just on craft tubs and then a whole bunch of books and then a smaller books that I shove the phone together. So this is like trial and error. It's literally just, you have to think about how you want to look and what is most comfortable for you. So as you saw Miss Griselle in that this setup, she likes to have her whole body in the back and have the puppets here. That's totally awesome. It totally works for her. For me, I want to be a little bit closer to the camera so I can see and make sure that I'm in the frame and that my puppets are here, and it feels like a close interactive experience with the child. That's what's most comfortable for me. In terms of the setup, I didn't realize this, but it really helped me. You can go on your first personal page and have a Facebook Live to just one person. You can choose like, I'm gonna only have live with Natalie. And we did a test run, and that made me feel a lot better because it's like, oh, okay, this is working. I completely failed one day because I tried from my computer and there's lag. So my computer internet connection was not working very well. And so I realized that my cell phone and using the data on my cell phone was much better. So it's like trial and error and going back and fixing your mistakes. And it's not always perfect the first time. And sometimes I'll have an object in my hand and it'll drop and it's funny and you make a joke out of it. And then, okay, there's a way to flip your phone into selfie mode. There's a couple steps. I'm happy to tell you can email me. I've actually recorded it and sent it to people to say this is the steps. And then another thing that I've done is try to personalize things this is why I like being up close, is as people comment, I can say hi. So it's like, oh, Adelaide's here today. Yay. And I've seen other librarians doing that from other libraries too. And I think like that really provides a personal opportunity to make the story time personal. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is things that children's librarians already do in the library, but the technical part of it makes it feel a little bit clinical, like you're literally just doing a story time to no one. And so how do you make it real? So one of the things that I like to do is find that emotional connection and imagine the camera is a child. Think about the kids that are there, especially when someone comments and I know who that child is, then I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's been a girl and she has said hello and I know her brothers. So I'll say like, oh, say hi to your brothers. So just finding ways to make it your own. Practice being silly, like look at the camera, record yourself making silly faces. It's really fun. And you want to look into the camera lens and not like be looking down, making sure that you're like looking straight. You want to check for lighting and also articulation. Like I'll record myself and just certain areas of the room, like I will have to speak louder and softer. So you want to make sure that you're visually and auditorily in line. And then you want to try to personalize it. At Gail Borden, we've come up with a couple fun things. One is that we are sharing birthdays. So customers can email this email address, gbpalebirthdays@gmail.com. And then I'll share Monday morning, I'll share the birthday and sing happy birthday. And then I have this birthday flannel. So I'll do that. I'm preparing for a story time right now. Oh, and I forgot to mention too, this flannel board is a random to-do list board. Like I just put pieces of flannel on it. It's like makeshift. So another thing that I did just randomly from home. And you can order, I don't know if people know this, but you can order things on Amazon and have them delivered. Like we are currently using some of our programming money to purchase things like this for people at home. If you need felt, you can put an order and have it sent to multiple people at their houses. So, and I think another thing is to share your life. You know, it's like when you see a teacher in a grocery store, that whole thing. When you see a librarian in their house, it's just weird. It's like, what, they're in their house? So sharing things like your pets. I've showed Opal, you can see her, she's right there. So like showing little personal touches, sharing like, oh, this is out, there's a window on this side of my house, and kids love to see that their librarians are real people. And the last couple things I want to talk about is just, this is such a serious time, and we definitely want kids take things seriously, and we need to have tough conversations, but also play and puppets and story is a restorative measure for kids. You know, this is the way that they heal in a time of crisis, is through singing, reading, writing, playing, and talking. So children have a natural ability to work through stress, but they need to hear about characters that have their own narrative. They need to hear about characters who problem solve and get lost in an imaginative story. So this is a wonderful thing for them. Secondly, it's a wonderful thing for me. And I think like we need to think about how the online programs are, for me, giving me like this respite in the dark, because I feel like, how do I help in this really, really hard time? I can feel hopeless. I can feel useless some days, but on the days that I have story time, it's like, I feel like I have a part in helping in some way. Like, even if it's just reading and singing and being silly, my role as a presenter makes me feel a little bit more alive, a little bit more like I'm making a difference. So it's easy to feel overwhelmed. And I just think it's important for us as librarians to say like, oh, this is how we can help. This is the way that we can bring hope and play and imagination to our customers that we serve all the time. So I think that is it.
Denise, do you want to join in here?
Do you want to go ahead and start, Natalie, on your evaluation part? And Katie, everyone, excuse me, everyone's going to get to see, if you're leaving here at 11, you get to see Katie at 11. She's going to go live this morning. So that will feel like we got her on a lucky day, and seeing how she contributes all the time. And again, she's been phenomenal. Katie, thank you for all you've done for the Elgin community and broader. As we can see, people from across this country are watching Katie provide her story times.
Yes. Yeah, we are frequently re-evaluating what we are putting online and paying attention to, you know, engagement, and video views is another one that we are frequently looking at, so that we can keep coming back to programmers and say, hey, you know, what we have personally noticed is that any videos we've done that are screen shares, they have not done nearly as well as videos that are more, you know, one-on-one with a person. So coming back to our staff and saying like, hey, this is what we've noticed, and this is how, you know, this is how our viewers are taking these programs, and what could we do moving forward. That's been an ongoing thing. I mean, we were doing it prior to leaving the library, but frequently just going in and seeing what's working and how we can evaluate it. It definitely is an ongoing game. I know Katie and I, like, I'll come up with I'll pull the stats for her programs so that I can send it to her, and she can say, you know, the day that she first started really personalizing those, the engagement numbers were just immediately higher. So really paying attention to what our audience is paying attention to has been a primary focus. I mean, without the stats and without the engagement, like, what's not saying that you need to have high engagement, but without constantly reevaluating and reworking our process to to give our viewers what they want. You know, what is the point in all of this? This is actually a picture that somebody sent in of their 6-month-old son watching one of Katie's story times, which was adorable. And these are just some of the things that we saw when we looked at our insights right off the bat. The numbers of everything increased dramatically from prior to us leaving the library to, you know, even just the first couple weeks that we were home. These only went through April 8th, but obviously there's a whole nother month now that aren't on there. And, you know, the engagement was great, and we're constantly looking at these numbers and more to really find out what people want to hear and what people are looking for. And then this is just something that we frequently go into Facebook and do insights. There's a benchmarking ability. So we were kind of curious just what, you know, what does engagement look like for us? And you can see here that, you know, New York Public Library, how many, I don't even know how many people follow their page, probably millions, but you know, what their engagement looks like, and then how we can measure up so that we can see, like, we can constantly evaluate and see what we're doing that's working. And we were, you know, really excited just to see how we fit into the overall picture of everyone that's, you know, online right now. And I know Evelyn from Champaign, a couple years ago, her and I did a Rails webinar together, and she is a one, not a one-man show, but, you know, she does not have a giant team like we might have at Gail Borden, but to see how their engagement has increased over the past few weeks is a nice sign of what we're all doing and how we're making it work despite our size of our team, or, you know, what we've been, I don't know when they left their library, but it's just nice to constantly look and keep yourself in check with what other things are going on, you know, constantly looking at those numbers. But regardless of if you're a big team or you're a small team, just simple things that you can do to make your channel most effective for your customers is ultimately, you know, that end goal. And Katie is going to go Facebook Live in 2 minutes. So if anybody wants to go look over there, you can use that bit.ly link and it'll bring you to our Facebook Live video. So as soon as she goes on, that will get you there, and you can watch and see how she implements some of those practices for Facebook. Denise, I don't know if you had anything.
You want to go to the next slide, Natalie?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh, and as we are opening, this is our drive-up window. Oh, let me unmute myself. Our drive-up window is opening today. So we do have a few people in the library. What we anticipate and what we're learning, this is such a learning time for us, is that when we go back into the library, whether it be, you know, next month or months from now, that we don't think programming is going to look like programming before we left. This is going to be socially distanced programming. So the lessons that we are learning right now, we think will apply once we get back in, because we will be doing much of our programming in a streamed type of atmosphere as well. So again, I can't say enough about the people on our staff across our library, their willingness to take on new jobs, and again, to re-look at this. I mean, we're reinventing ourselves as to how we were doing. And Natalie, I think she remarked that we're probably a larger staff, but it's because we do a lot of other, there's a lot of umbrella that comes into our division, which is the exhibits and displays, and we run our copy shop out of here as well. So we had more people within our division to realign with the new needs, but that we're seeing this across the library, and so proud of the library staff at Gail Borden and the leadership at Gail Borden as well. But again, I'm seeing this at tons of other libraries. So again, brand new day challenge, but I do think libraries across this state are up to the challenge, and we're seeing it every day. So thanks for tuning in for everyone. And again, love to see all these people from across the state tuning in.
Yeah, thanks, Denise. And we're right at 11. So Katie, if you need to go,
Yeah.
you can sign out.
Yes, I'm going to head out, but I just wanted to say I'm open to any questions. So please email me open. So thanks. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Katie.
Bye.
And Denise and Natalie, do you have like 5 minutes to stick around and answer a few questions?
Sure, we could.
Yeah,
Super. Okay,
I
great.
just stopped the share. I hope that's okay.
That's great. I can share my screen in a second here. So okay, so the first question actually was, I think, for you, Denise, and someone wanted to know about your e-newsletter and who that goes to.
We are an opt-in. You sign up for a online library card or a library card, you are opted in to our email system. So we relied on a legal opinion years ago. So ours goes to everyone who has a library card. Of course, people are readily given the opportunity to opt out. And again, once you're opted out, you never go back in. But we do go to everyone. I believe our list is about 45,000 right now. So it's and to see these open rates and the information that we're getting out right now is really imperative, because we've gone fine free and our drive up windows just opened. So, and again, getting this online programming, have that access, and to see the open rates just jump. I think we doubled or tripled the amount of open rates. So we're very pleased. And again, but we have made a decision, and that's a few years ago, that if you have a library card, you will be part of our email system.
Great, thank you. Nadia asks, how do you record a Zoom meeting or Facebook Live? Can maybe Natalie, you can talk a little bit about this, like the process for both of those?
Yeah. So for Facebook Live, Katie showed you her setup is just her, her phone on a stack of all sorts of things. And that is pretty much the setup that I would say most of our Facebook Live programmers have used, a cell phone and access to our Gail Borden Facebook page, obviously. And for that, the process generally is that we'll do that test run beforehand, make sure that the equipment that programmer has is going to work for the program itself, and make sure there's no lag time, that it's going to be the most effective. And so they'll do a test run with me or with somebody else, and then when they are scheduled to go up, they will go on, which hopefully Katie's on right now. And yeah, there are a couple programmers who have used iPads or used computers. Really, the only thing I could suggest is just to test it out beforehand to see what is the best speed and quality for going Facebook Live. For the Zoom meetings, you can record them, which I think, Dan, you're doing with this one, so you'll end up using it after the fact. I believe you do have to have an upgraded account, Zoom account for that. Is that correct?
I think that's right.
So obviously that would come into play depending on what you have available to you. But those can be recorded, and then we personally would end up, if the presenter or the programmer has, written off that yes, we are able to use it on multiple platforms, then we can take that recorded video and put it on YouTube or elsewhere.
And this is a good follow-up. And thank you for everyone for the questions. We might not get to all of them. I want to give our presenters and everyone else a chance to get on with their day. But I think this relates really nicely to the last question. The question is approximately how long does it take between when a video is recorded and when it gets posted? And I suppose that has to do somewhat with the length of the video.
Yeah, we've definitely looked at video lengths and then determined, you know, if it's something that's going to be really long, we already know that we know what the average watch time is on Facebook for our viewers, and that will be something that we consider. We have an editorial meeting. I don't know, Denise, if you want to touch in on that, but we kind of determine from there if there's a platform that might be better or not. And actually, I'm gonna go address. Katie's got a question. She can't get on, so just part of the natural trial and error. So
Thanks,
let me grab
Natalie.
that. And it may be just up and down you're talking about. So again, it's your normal, whatever internet connections you have as to how long it takes to go up and down. We have some of our, because we're using of course, our cloud services, tons. So it's up, we're suggesting that our people who make their own videos, that they upload to their own cloud and just send us a link. At one point we were having them all downloaded into our public relations cloud. Now we're just saying, just send us a link and we'll grab it off yours. So we're going through normal up and downs. There are people who really think that their video should reside on YouTube and it goes automatically. So it's just how it works in the scheduling, that having the schedule really helps.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I think, Denise, we're going to call it a day, and I appreciate everyone for all of their questions. I'm sorry that we couldn't get to all of them. Natalie, Denise, thank you so much for your expertise and willing to share today. It was great. Again, folks, this is being recorded. We are going to offer this as a recorded version. It'll be, you should all get an email from Zoom that'll come tomorrow morning, but it'll be up on the Rails YouTube later today. Again, have a great Monday. May the 4th be with all of you. Thanks again for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you.
thank you, everybody.
Bye.